Hi, welcome to our data visualization project. This project is a combined effect of Pranjul, Nista, Dhaval, Aditi, Harsh, and Vinita. For our project, we have selected the paper named Pearl, an interactive visual analytic tool for understanding personal emotion style derived from social media, authored by Zian Zhao, Lin Gao, Rai Wang, and Michelle Zhou. Pearl means personal emotion analysis, reasoning, and learning, a timelines-based visualization emotion analysis tool that allows the users to interactively analyze and explore a person's emotional patterns over a time from one social media text. The dataset we used is public datasets and it consists of 5 different users whose tweet data ranges from before to till 2020. We did some pre-processing on the dataset and extracted 8 emotions named anger, disgust, joy, surprise, emotions, fears, and sadness, and trust. This is our visualization graph. As you can see, the users can select different users from here, and our visualization changes. We have represented a color code for each emotions. There are 6 graphs in our visualization. In first one, this one is time series graph. This is balance emotions graph. This is tweet SWOT visualization graph. And if you click on any of the arrows, you get 2 more visualization graph, which is balance arousal graph and tweet SWOT's displays graph. Lastly, and there is another 6 graph, which is an extension graph, which shows the average emotions of for the all users. So let's start with the time series graph. Time series graph gives an emotional profile overview of the users in a small manner. As you can see, the line chart is the representative of the balance emotions graph, and which one is this, and this is a small tweet for this graph. This the same looks similar. Here you can select a region which you want to see the particular emotion bandwidth, and you can just play with it, and the graph will change this corresponding to the emotions. If you want to go back to original graph, just change the users. Now let's go to the valence emotion graph. It is a graph plotted between the valence emotion for a particular user. Here one can see how the emotion profile of the user was during that particular time, and each color represents different emotions. The color code for each emotion for the emotions are same throughout the 6 graphs. So it gets a feel that user doesn't have to go and check once it is remembered. Here, the white arrows represent the domination or that emotions, felt by dominant emotions, particularly felt by that user at particular that time. Here, if you hover on each color streamline graph, it will highlight that graph, and the rest will be reduced. Opacity will be reduced, and you can particularly view that emotions and see check the streamline of that graph. You can also deselect the emotions you don't want from here by clicking on the color box of the button emotions, and you can deselect them as well based on your choices or the data you want. The arrow by clicking on the dominant informations, which will give you about the information about the which emotions will be strongly felt by the user for a particular time, and with some metadata about that. Here, as you can see, there are 3 emotions felt by user for a particular time, and if you click on the bubble, it will give you the balance arousal graph and the tweet words display graph. Before going to that, there is another graph which was tweets words visualization graph. If you can hover here, then it will give you the words which were particularly felt or strongly felt by the user. The size and the boldness of the words depends on the intensity of the emotions felt by that users during that particular time. So now let's go select some of the few emotions which we want. Let's select someone with 2 emotions. So here we go to the emotions, and the tweets and the balance arousal graph is displayed. Here the tweets corresponding to that time period and contributing for that emotions are displayed. So if you hover on the balance arousal graph, it will give you the circle represents the words experience by the used by the users, and the proud. If you hover on the proud, it will give you some metadata about it. And the circle is a representation between the valence and the arousal emotion felt by the users. So there are 2 words, proud and lost. If you click on the uh, word, it will highlight that particular tweet if there is some tweet present for that word. However, you can want to see the words spelled by that tweet. You can just see hover on the tweet and the different valence service and the timeline for that is imagine. As you can see, the lost is highlighted and the September timeline is also highlighted. There is another way to display. If you have the already graph open, if you hover on the bubbles, then it will already give the emotions and the words associated with it along with the tweets. Now let's go to the average emotions graph. This is the average emotions graph, which is presents the average, calculates the intensity of the average intensity of all the emotions of the users present in the data sets, and it is represented here. As you can see, there are various emotions felt by the users, out of where the maximum time the user experienced joy and the anticipations. And then lastly, in 2020, there was a slight peak of surprise trust element, and it went down at the end of 2020. So this visualization tool can be used by the advertisement company to get the to show different advertisement to the users based on their emotions profiles, and also use average emotion graphs can be used for the users which don't want to share their companies. This can be also used by the political campaign parties to explore out the campaigns and to decide the agendas and candidates for their next upcoming elections. And this can also be used by the employers to check the performance of their employees, predict the based moods of their employees and how their performance is going down. Or can they also see the reacts of the employees based on the new policies implemented? It can also be used to see the various diseases effects on the pandemics, COVID-19, etc., and the all over the world for different users. Yes.